Hey, good-looking dudes! And welcome back to our Metroid Dread playthrough. Last time we met with Quiet Robe, the first Chozo we have ever met in person in a Metroid game ever, so that's quite a surprise, given that they've always been more of a background race than anything. And today we're heading to an area that he opened for us, because now that we know why we're here and what the threat is, we've come to stop it once and for all.
Oh.
So, the tensions are tight.
I dig it.
So, what was that conversation you left off
on
last video?
The story about me and my ex going to Phoenix, Alabama to see Charlie Crockett. And our ticket said Friday. It looked up online, it was Friday, but then you went on the site's page and it said that the show got rescheduled to Saturday. So we were in the middle of this town with nothing to do. We decided to walk downtown, and we went through this park area, and like it was honestly like I was terrified. Like, I mean, even though we like broke up, I was holding her hand, not because I was protecting her. I was scared, dude. I thought I was gonna get mugged.
Did he just blast through the fucking door?
We were walking through this park in the dark with these people walking by who they literally looked like they smelled bad. They talked funny. You could smell cigarettes and whiskey on them, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with both of those things. I don't mind when somebody smells like that. But the point is I was in the dark. It was scary. I was 6 hours from home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I met this lady, and she was drunk, and she was like, I was carrying my guitar, and she was like, "Honey, it's my birthday. Can you," you know what I mean? She's like, "Play me Happy Birthday." And I played her Happy Birthday. And she told me, she was like, "You got some pretty thighs and you got some pretty hair. How about you come over with me?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm good."
And it's like, not in this lifetime, sister.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was funny. I like it when people are up front, when they say they like you know what I mean?
Hey, better than being dishonest and trying to hide away from it, right?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people that'll be like, "I don't like you at all," and they really like you.
And it's like, I don't know. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't like dishonesty in general. I'd rather somebody just be upfront about it and just tell me. It's like, I'll take it, man. I'd rather you just not waste my fucking time.
Well, dude,
and just tell it to me straight.
If you're straight, then they'll be straight. That's how I see it. You get me?
Yeah, I do, but some people don't get the memo.
Again, look, they need like some smooth jazz music playing while she's in her monorail. That's
only the 4th or 5th time you've mentioned that.
Yeah, I know. Why did you put it in there real quick?
Fine. Put in that music from like Fairly Odd Parents when they... have you seen that episode where they say like Cosmo's head is empty or some shit? No. And he's got like a fucking music player in his head and they play that whenever they're bored.
No. I love that show though. That show aged well.
It aged really, really, really well. Like, I don't feel like it gets enough credit, and I feel like a lot of that is...
When I was a kid, I didn't like that show because it was on the air all the time. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's...
I felt the same way with Codename Kids Next Door. They played it so much on the air that I got sick of it. But when I look back and see, like, cut scenes from YouTube of it, I think it's hilarious. I think the dad is another level.
See, I feel like Fairly Odd Parents, even though it was a popular show, doesn't get enough credit these days. And I feel like a lot of that is because like the series fell into a pretty bad seasonal rot. Not on the level of SpongeBob, mind you, but I don't feel like people talk about it like they do with SpongeBob either.
I don't really think of Fairly Odd Parents after the baby was introduced in the movie.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is that, like,
when it died? That's what I'm asking. Is that when it died around then?
People say that, but like, there were a lot of like contributing factors. I feel that kind of piled up, and the more they piled up, the bigger of an issue it became over time. Like Cosmo getting dumbed down, and all the other characters getting dumbed down,
Patrick
for example.
Did that too.
And
that's like I noticed that with a lot of Nickelodeon shows, man. Is that
you can tell that a lot of that is mostly because of executive meddling.
Yeah,
though.
No, but like a lot of the stereotypes, they're like, okay, Patrick's kind of dumb, let's make him dumber. Cosmo's kind of dumb, Let's make him dumber. Sheen is pretty dumb. Let's make him dumber and give him his own fucking TV show, because we all want that.
Right, and I feel like in those cases, like... Damn it, I lost my chain of thought.
I'll tell you what, man. Like, I loved, like, the animator. I forgot his name. Do you know the name of the animator for Fairly Odd Parents?
Butch Hartman?
Is that him?
Yeah.
Dude, I fucking love Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. That show was, like, my childhood.
That's not the same animator, though.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
No!
Who was he, then?
Somebody else.
Let me look it up.
I don't remember his name.
Butch Hartman?
Butch Hartman did Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom... Tough Puppy, and some other weird show. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Alright, Butch... Okay, yeah. Did he do Total Drama Island?
No, that was a Canadian animation studio.
Yo, dude, honestly, I found out recently that the animator for Phineas and Ferb went to college with my sister at the same time, the same college in Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I know, isn't that crazy?
And Phineas and Ferb is such a fucking treasure. I
It's
felt
so
like
good.
that was like the new modern day SpongeBob after SpongeBob was starting to fall off.
That has to be the most famous man to come out of Mobile, Alabama.
Hey man,
You can't complain.
Phineas and Ferb aged really well, and it was a show that was surprisingly consistent in its quality because it had a formula, but it had a really good formula because it was a show that made fun of typical animation tropes.
Yeah.
And it paid off in dividends. I feel like that was like one of the first of its kind where cartoons would start making fun of like bad tropes in general and play around that and become more self-aware about it.
Dude, I'm looking it up right now. He did do it.
For Grim Adventures?
Yeah.
Well, he probably didn't write it, is what I'm thinking. Like, he probably was just like a...
I'm checking real quick.
He was probably just like a side animator for it, and that's it. If that was the case.
That show was so good. Oh yeah, I'm still looking. What? He became friends with future Family Guy director Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Seth
His
MacFarlane...
biggest success came in 1997 when he created The Fairly Odd Parents. I thought that show was newer than that. Like, I remember watching that as a kid. That means that show came out when I was 2.
Well, kind of. So, Fairly Odd Parents started off as, like, a pilot series. Okay, so have you heard of this thing called Oh Yeah Cartoons?
Oh, yeah?
It's kind of like, It's kind of like this, this show where it runs, like, these test pilots, and if it gets enough, like, traction, then they start turning it into a full-on series. Now, Fairly Odd Parents didn't become a series until, like, 2001, if that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But, they did a few test pilot episodes before it became its thing.
Oh, man. Yo, did you know he was involved with Pocahontas, the movie?
Oh.
I had no idea, man.
I mean, Butch Hartman and Seth MacFarlane did plenty of work on other animation stuff before they
Adventures. That was stupid. I'm sorry, guys.
Before they went and did their own things. I mean, part of the reason Seth MacFarlane stopped doing traditional animated projects was because he wanted to go and do his own thing and do something more along the lines of, you know, maturity or whatever, if that's the proper terminology or for it or whatever.
Were you more of a Nick kid or a Cartoon Network kid?
I think I kind of like jumped around a little bit. Like I feel like early on I was more of a Nick kid, but later on I became more of a Cartoon Network kid. But I am familiar with, you know, a lot of the earlier stuff like Powerpuff Girls and like Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo and whatnot.
Gosh, I was probably more of a Cartoon Network kid, besides SpongeBob, of course. But everybody watched SpongeBob. But, honestly, I liked the Rugrats more. Like, when I think about Nickelodeon, the first thing that pops into my mind still is the Rugrats.
Well, that used to be their big thing before SpongeBob took over. That was kind of their cash cow for a little while.
Yeah.
That's why Rugrats had so many seasons.
I don't like how Nickelodeon markets their series. I think we talked about this, and I can't tell, guys, when we talked about something, because we went 3 weeks of trying to record and none of it worked, so. But yeah, like, the way that Nickelodeon handles it is if you don't become a cash cow by the first season, then they're going to kick you out. So basically, you have to be as successful as, like, SpongeBob, and that's not realistic.
It really isn't.
It's
and
not.
That's why Nick doesn't have any fucking cartoons anymore
I like
besides
that.
that.
I like Loud House.
Because, like, a lot of people realize that, oh, if I'm not going to get a chance anyway, then why am I even going to bother with this shitty corporation that's not going to treat my property well?
I
mean, they've done this even when it was still popular. Like, they did this in the mid or early 2000s, too. They've always been guilty of that crap.
Yeah.
It's just only now that people are starting to steer away from giving their properties over to Nickelodeon that, like, Nickelodeon's starting to decline even more and more these days.
I like that we live in a world now where if you don't have to, if you're an animator, you don't have to go to a cable company.
You can just go on Netflix or some shit.
No, you could just go on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Netflix and other, like, streaming services are a really good alternative, too, because you don't... Because the problem with running through an animation, like, company like Nickelodeon is that you don't have full creative control over your properties.
Well, you don't with Hulu or Netflix, really, either. Point, what I'm trying to say is that with the internet, now you can do whatever you want.
And, yeah, that's why these animation studios... Because, like, usually they'll have to go through, like, a bunch of censorship or creative control before they can put out the product they want to do. That's why, what's-his-face, the creator of, The Secret of Nim, for example, he hated Disney back then so much because they were going down a path that was so wrought with executive control after Walt Disney died that he didn't want to be a part of that, and he wanted to have full creative control over his products. But he ended up failing because he put so much of a gamble into his projects that by the time he was forced to, you know, jump on board with a bunch of executives to, you know, actually go out and produce his stuff, then he had to unwillingly run into those issues, and that's why his movies failed later down the road. But, I was going to say, like, with stuff like Nickelodeon, they have insane creative control over their properties.
I mean,
it's
Disney
fucking... And Disney does, too. Probably even more so than Nickelodeon, honestly.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of companies go towards Cartoon Network now, because they're a lot more laissez-faire about that kind of shit.
Dude, Cartoon Network is fucking lit. Dude,
And,
you remember Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Yeah, that's a show I'm still trying to figure out how I got away with the kind of shit it did, honestly.
That's such a good show,
That show was fucking...
My brother used to have nightmares on the Return the Slate.
I still have.
Or
I still had nightmares of it because it came out when I was like 6.
I loved that show.
So
I did.
I think that should kind of tell you a whole lot. But
Johnny
like,
Bravo was really funny. You mentioned that earlier.
Like, you want to know one of the main reasons shows like Ed, and Eddy did as well as it did.
That show is literally like one of the best
the
shows
peak
they ever
Cartoon
had.
Network. You want to know why that show did as well as it did? Is that like the creator literally told Cartoon Network that he will develop that as long as they fuck off and let him animate and do everything within his own studio in Canada.
Dude, you know, Ed and Eddy community is sick still. You know, do you ever read the Ed and Eddy conspiracies, dude?
Which ones exactly?
Like, have you heard the one where, like, they're, I'm gonna pop up some real quick on the internet, but I remember seeing one where it was, like, they're all, like, kids who died at a young age, and it's their afterlife.
Oh, my God. We're really going into that kind of territory, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Why wouldn't we? Yeah, the purgatory theory.
Oh, God.
I'm loading it up.
So what's it say exactly?
I'm looking it up. Your internet's slowing me down.
Hey, my internet's good. You hush.
Alright, so they got like a backstory for every one of them too. So I guess we should start with Eddy. Yeah, I mean... Let me see. No, we'll start in order from this. So... They all came from different times... And one thing remains true to all of us. We lived on the earthly realm of the neighborhood at some point in our lives, and died long before our time was supposed to come. We don't remember much of our lives in the cul-de-sac since the last member of our group joined us, and certainly we won't remember now when the kid's next spirit comes. But here's what we do know. Ralph was the first to come. You know, the weird guy?
The one where even the creator can't seem to make up his mind about where he comes from.
Yeah.
I think that was the joke.
Listen, Ralph was the one to come first here. Unlike most of us, he was born in a far-off land, even in the afterlife, hasn't lost touch with his old world upbringing. He lived in the neighborhood before it was developed. The son of a shepherd, he and the rest of his family came from start a farm on the lands that would soon turn into a place we would all eventually reside in. He died in 1903 while tending the family's animals. The bull broke loose from its pen, and Ralph's efforts to stop the beast, he was trampled to death.
Well, damn, he got wrecked.
Yeah. You keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the next one is Johnny. You remember which one is Johnny?
Yeah, the one with the fucking plank friend or whatever.
Yeah, that's him. Johnny was always a lonely child. In fact, Ralph became his first human friend ever when he came to the cul-de-sac after his death. His parents moved into the grounds of Ralph's former farm not long after his death, with no other children around and no field work to take up his time as it did Ralph's. Johnny drew into his own mind to a great extent. From that, Plank was born. So Johnny, basically what they say is that they wandered the countryside, climbing trees, him and Plank, getting themselves into trouble. Sadly, this didn't last forever. A few years later, he became bedridden with illness. He died in 1922. He died after a long battle with tuberculosis. I
like how you exaggerated that.
He saw his imaginary friend Plank standing by him at his last breath. Even now, in the afterlife, without the countryside to play in, Johnny still wastes much of his time frolicking through the backyards of the street. Now, one's kind of cool. So we're going to talk about Eddy now.
God. There's probably a lot of shit to uncover.
It's every main character.
Of course.
So Eddy was the next to come. Eddy was born in New York City, but moved to the neighborhood in 1932, just as the Great Depression was hitting full swing. The neighborhood, while still different, was beginning to take form from the fields of its past, as families moved in and split up the lands that had once belonged to Rolf's family. Always a schemer, Eddy looked to do anything to bring some comfort to his bare family life, even if it cost him the friendship of others. Eddy died in 1939 after one of his grand plans of swindling a sap backfired. He drowned trying to cross the local river after trying to run away from the angry kids that he tried to deceive. Now let's talk about Ed and Sarah. You know, Yellow Ed.
Oh.
Not Double D. You know, while I'm reading all this, you should put some creepy music in the background. Could you do that?
Sure.
Alright. Ed and Sarah and Ed came together not too long after that. By the late 40s, the cul-de-sac had already nearly taken its final form as one of the pre-planned developments that became popular in the post-war era. As brother and sister growing up in the chaos of World War II, they both had various ways of escaping their lives as children of a dead GI. And as working mother. I'm sorry for my English. Sarah became enraged and controlling as she sought to make sure that everyone around her knew that she was in charge, all in an attempt to copy off her view of hustling and bustle of her often working mother. Ed, on the other hand, went about a different way. He shut out entirely. In fact, he shut out nearly everyone and everything in the world, entirely becoming what appeared to be a complete idiot. Ed chose instead to become completely involved in the monster movies and comic books that began to pop up after the World War had ended. It wasn't too long after that In 1953, Sarah and Ed died in a car wreck as their mother was taking them to visit their grandparents. Ooh, spooky, dude.
This is kind of fitting given the kind of area we're going to be going into next. So.
Alright, dude. The next one. Can you guess the next one, dude?
Double D.
No, it's Naz, dude.
Oh, Lord.
Where's Naz? Naz came a time after the... Naz came a time... I'm sorry, I think this is their fault, the writing. Naz came a time after the brother and sister. Naz was a flower child, born to a pair of hippies.
Can I interject
on the
real
turn
quick?
of the establishment of the late 60s. Go ahead.
I can't... I'd like to imagine how crazy or fucked up this thumbnail for this video is going to be.
I know.
It's going to be something. For sure.
Yeah, you better put work into that, dude.
Yeah, Adventure.
Right.
Yeah, Adventure Shock.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're not going to give you too much
Yeah,
shit.
hey,
Oh my God.
He's one of our developers. Everyone say hi and we love you in the comment
Adventure
section.
Shock is our thumbnail designer,
Yeah.
so everybody give him the respect he deserves.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
He works for fun. He doesn't do it for anything. He's a very respectable person. He doesn't have to do it, but we're thankful for him.
He's the best kind of human
Alright.
being.
Alright, so Naz was a flower child, born from some hippies in the late 60s. She was naturally beautiful girl that had always had a way with boys and men alike. She lived life on a whim and would often go about flirting and playing without any intentions. She died in possibly the most horrible way of any child in the neighborhood. In the summer of 1979, a serial killer had broken out of a local asylum, had slipped into her house in the dead of night, and raped and killed her along with her entire family.
Damn.
I know.
Oh man, this is getting crazier
I
the more I
know,
hear
dude.
about it. Like the further you go, it just gets more maddening.
In a way, her trauma, she would shut... In the trauma of these events, she, in a way similar to Ed, shut out to the world entirely and forgot of her parents and siblings, which is why in the afterlife she doesn't ever receive demands from the non-existent parents. Unlike many of the others, this gives her much more time to lounge around and party as she often does. Alright, next one is Double D. It didn't take too long before Double D joined the rest of the neighborhood. He was the child of two highly controlling professionals in an age of greed that, despite their constant absence, dominated his life. As such, Ed became quite the intellectual and a rather meek and shy figure. Always the curious type, he loved the experiment when given the time away from school and the constant chores of his parents.
You ever wonder if Dan Antonucci probably saw this at one point and was like, yeah, you know, maybe I might actually agree with that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Dan Antonucci is pretty open-minded about this kind of stuff too, surprisingly. So.
Anyways, his parents worked him to death from school and constant chores. This would lead to his untimely demise in 1986. As a gas leak combined with a Bunsen burner from one of his experiments tore him and his house to pieces. Being the timid and subservient type...
I thought you were going to say subversive.
No, subservient. I think that's the word, right? Subservient type. Between various misadventures, Ed continued to follow the written orders of his parents long after his death. Alright. We should be getting close. Now we got Kevin, though.
Okay, I was going to say...
Kevin was the next to join the group. He was born to the day of Ed's death. And Double D, I'm sorry. They have EDD. It kind of messes me up.
Just call him Double D.
Yeah, he was born to the day of Double D's death and is in many ways the polar opposite of Double D. Kevin came from a broken home and developed a bold personality. In life, he was cynical and angry and took it out on many of the other children. His abusive father would rarely pay attention to him in life and would end up bringing about to the end of it. I'm sorry.
That sounds kind of weird to me.
In a drunken rage, his father beat him after Kevin attempted to stand up for himself. He died on the way to the hospital in the winter of 1990. His father spent the rest of his life in prison. In the afterlife, Kevin changed his perception to the opposite of what his life really was, with a distant father who would shower him with gifts. However, he continued to maintain his bullying even in death. Alright.
See, like, I'm not under the impression that his dad had to be like that, because there's literally an episode where his dad fills up his garage filled with jawbreakers and he gives them out to everybody.
That's what they just said. Like, his afterlife dad was very nurturing.
Okay.
Jimmy was the last to come to the cul-de-sac. He died in 2000, not long after moving into the house that Kevin's father had once lived in. He had leukemia since he was barely old enough to walk. As such,
is that what I think it is?
Yeah.
Is that an ex-parasite from Fusion?
Oh,
Whoa!
I thought
Flashbacks!
I thought you were talking about leukemia, dude.
Is that what it looks like to you?
Yeah, that's what leukemia looks like, dude. As such, he was always a very sickly child, and due to his overprotective parents, he never really got to be around other children. He lived his days out in a small bedroom, completely neglected by the outside world. Jimmy lingered for quite some time in a state of near death, but in the end, finally caved into the suffering of his lifelong illness. Now there's one more group. Do you know who it is?
God damn it. Okay, what?
It's the Canker Sisters.
Oh,
yeah.
right. See, I'm like trying to play and pay attention at the same
This is the
time.
last one. And then we'll know the whole lore and we could talk about this, dude. Okay? The Canker Sisters were different from any other denizens of the cul-de-sac. They were never of the earthly plane of existence. Instead, they are the children of demons, not too dissimilar from the succubi of human lore. They seem to possess abilities impossible by the standards of others, such as the ability to appear nearly anywhere instantly. They were sent from hell to torment the already tortured souls of the neighborhood. Surprisingly, they are attracted to the Eds for unknown reasons. Unknown reasons. Although it is speculated that they are the weakest-willed members of the neighborhood and are seen as easy targets for them. Despite that, they are universally loathed and often feared by everyone, including the Eds.
Damn.
Yes. This is some dark shit, dude.
Darker than this, even?
No, I mean this whole... Well, this is like off of a childhood TV show. So what do you think about that theory, that the afterlife theory?
That's one hell of... I don't know. I don't try to, like, buy into the creepypasta stuff too much, because I feel like there's only... I don't know. Maybe I just don't look outside of the box too much.
Yeah.
But, like, it's one of those things I kind of take for granted and don't think about too often, unless, say, for example, a franchise or series ends on, like, this very ambiguous ending, which, in that case, yeah, I do need to, like, kind of piece things together myself.
Well, I mean, I like this one because, like, the characteristics of the character, like, they totally do represent different eras of people. Like, Ralph is totally a farmer from Ukraine or Hungary, like, before World War One. Honestly, it's probably Australia-Hungary I get that vibe from. You know what I mean?
He just went into the fucking door and it shut behind him.
Like, Naz kind of acts like a hippie girl. You know what I mean?
She kind of just vibes, honestly.
Eddy is like a penny pincher. Like, he is from the Great Depression. You get what I'm saying? Ed is, like, obsessed with comics, just like the people were in the 50s, the early ones, all the kids who were into comic books and stuff. I mean, it's just a fun little theory.
Yeah. So, basically, we came to this area, and it's kind of implied that we had a hand in it guiding us here, and for some very destructive reasons, because we actually ran into an old friend or enemy that we were hoping not to run into, and that being the X-Parasites from Metroid Fusion. And upon seeing that, I was like, whoa, holy shit, I didn't think they'd actually continue on that story thread that was more or less like I thought would be resolved by the end of Metroid Fusion. But kind of seeing it again, it's done in a way where it makes sense for the story arc as a whole, and not in a way of where, oh, we're just doing this because we're trying to pull your nostalgia threads. That's how you fucking do nostalgia right, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Dylan doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I don't, because I don't play Metroid.
He didn't play Metroid Fusion. And oh, I fucked that up. See, the thing I really love about the bosses in Metroid Dread is that I'm making this look easy, but that's only because I've actually had my fair share of trial and error with these bosses. And it's the kind of patterns where if you can actually figure them out in good depth and detail, you can easily get through it like this, like a badass. And I feel like that's the best kind of boss design you can ask for. It's basically Mega Man X levels of mentality when designing around these kind of patterns in boss fights. And really, I love most of the bosses in this game. I think it's one of my favorite things about Metroid Dread, honestly, is that all of the bosses feel very rewarding to overcome. They're very hard. Like, these things hit like motherfuckers, but once you get the patterns down, they flow so damn well.
Dang.
Like, shit, man. Like, I feel like I'm fighting something.
I could feel the sexual tension when you said so damn well.
I knew you were going to fucking comment on that.
Yeah,
so.
you're just like, so damn well.
Dude, I'm a Mega Man X fan, and when I fight something that gives me those kind of vibes that I haven't had since playing those kinds of games, well, it's the kind of thing I resonate with, damn it. Not trying to say that sexually or anything.
If you were to take Samus on a date, Ken, where do you think she would want to go on her first date?
Well,
Where would you take her?
And she'd probably want me to give it to her straight, too, so...
Well, give her what straight?
Well, I don't imagine Samus is the kind of person who would be picky about her food, honestly. I feel like she'd take anything because, like, for her, I feel like getting her mission done and her assignments done is of utmost priority over anything else.
Yeah.
But she does obviously have a caring side to her.
You probably don't want to take her to get fried chicken.
But she obviously has a caring side to her, because in Prime 2, her only objective in that game was to scout out, like, this Federation squad that went to investigate the planet. But she chose to stick around because not only was her ship still in repair, but she wanted to help this ancient race of people that were dealing with their own problems. And she basically asked for nothing in return, and basically dealt with their shit that they couldn't do for the past several decades.
I would like to think that Samus was actually a very cold person, but she's she's probably a very warm lover. You get what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, if it matters, if she sees something in trouble, she's going to do it regardless of whether or not she gets a paycheck out of it.
I feel like the perfect date to take Samus on would be you go out, you take her. I guess I'd take her to like Thai food. Everyone likes Thai food, dude. And then I'll take her to the shooting range. Maybe bring a bottle of whiskey with me to drink.
I was thinking something close to those lines. I feel like Samus would be a big fan of like Chinese takeout.
Really?
Because she'd want something fast, but she'd want something filling too.
No, she wants something healthy, dude. Honestly, Thai food's not even that healthy. There's a lot of sodium in it, but it's so good.
Then what's the difference with Chinese food if I
Chinese takeout?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, a lot of Chinese food's got chicken in it. Do you think she wants to eat chicken?
Are you trying to imply that that's part of the race she was raised by or something?
Yeah, she was raised by birds.
I don't think she'd think that hard
Imagine
about it.
if you were raised by deer and then I cooked you some venison stew. What would you think? And then I was fully aware, by the way, that you were raised by deer, and I did that.
Well, shit. Well, I fucked that up.
Yeah, dude. I don't think she likes Popeyes. I love Popeyes.
Well,
Popeyes is like top tier fast food.
I like it a lot more than KFC anyway.
Oh yeah, KFC's gross.
KFC is just too greasy.
I tell you what, one time I went. Remember when they had the donut thing, the donut chicken sandwich?
They had a donut chicken sandwich.
Yeah, like
that
a
sounds,
limited time. It
that
was like a
sounds
year ago.
nasty
It was
already.
during COVID, I think. I got it. It was like 2 donut buns and a fried chicken slab in the middle with bacon.
God.
Yeah, I literally felt like I was dying. I honestly don't really like Chick-fil-A.
Really?
Mm-mm.
That's a fucking hot ass take right there. I love Chick-fil-A. I mean, I don't like that they're pretty goddamn expensive. Like, why am I paying $10 for a grilled chicken sandwich? But I feel like it's one of the few places where, outside of going to like a local restaurant, I can actually eat their grilled chicken and enjoy it. And I think part of that is just because they marinate their chicken really well.
I just think Popeyes is better chicken.
Maybe, but I haven't had Popeyes in a minute either. Anyway, that's the end of the video, so I will see you guys in the next part. So, later!
Later.